Welcome to People Love Process. This content is going to be a little unique in that another creative by the name of Sala Evans asked me to do a monogram design based on letters derived from her new creative venture called Soft Queen Oasis. Now, I had no context for the name in the initial email she sent me, so I sent her an email following up, and I kind of guessed what the name was for and asked two questions. Now, I'm sharing these with you because they're kind of funny in hindsight. The first one was, when you say soft queen, and these are my questions for her, when you say soft queen, are we talking about big, beautiful women? Some might say curvy or voluptuous, and Oasis is like a beauty salon or spa where they can go to get the whole pampered treatment. Or do you mean it as a name for a soft serve ice cream type of shop? Now, the second question, I said that because here in the States, they have a national brand called Dairy Queen, and that's where you go to get soft serve ice cream. Well, I was wrong on both accounts. So the email you see in front of you was her response. And that email is going to serve as our creative brief for everything I'm going to take you through now. So with that said, let's jump right into it. And I won't bother to read this. You can read this if you get access to the exercise files. But my process, and she was adamant that I show the process of how I work out ideas in the drawn stage a little more. So we're going to do that first. So this is basically all the thumbnails I did on this project. And this is kind of what I do. And all of these were on most of them were on different sheets of paper. I do most of my sketches on my little branded notepads that I have printed for my office. I can't get into a sketchbook. I admire people who can. I'm just not one of them. So all of these are on your scrap piece, but sometimes they're on the printed out brief on the back. I'll draw on that as well at times. And I started drawing these out, thinking about what she was doing and the purpose and kind of the thinking and mentality behind it. And she wanted to create beautiful assets, think templates or digital downloads specifically, automated forms in PDF format, etc., and offer them for other creatives and other people to use on their end digitally. And so I'm thinking digitally, but I'm thinking she wants this to empower women. So I'm wanting it to look beautiful and kind of be elegant and have a little bit of sophistication to it. And the fact that it's a monograms tend to do that. Very rarely are they kind of goofballish or comical or novel. They can be, but in most contexts, it's more of an elegant type of aesthetic that you see it fall within. So this is all the sketches that I did, and then I just put a check mark by the ones I like best. And those are the ones I'm thinking of considering to move forward with. And as I showed you in a recent movie where I show you how I scan it, again, these were all analog drawings. And this is where I'll turn on my flatbed scanner and I'll scan them all in to get the digital assets. So each of these little thumbnail drawings, these are the ones I'm focusing on. This is one idea. And I have this to represent the O for Oasis. And I was going to turn that into a Laurel. So I was thinking, well, it'll be a letter form, but it'll be based off of a leaf type of element. And the more I thought about that, I'm going, I like that idea, but I'm not sure it'd read as an O. S and Q are pretty straightforward but as letter forms, but not so much the O. So even though I liked it, I like the idea, and I think I'm going to use that in another one. I didn't go in that direction. Here's another one I did, and on this one, I thought it was okay, but I thought the O overpowered, so I decided probably not the direction I want to go. Here's another one, and this one, even though there's two others I'm going to show you, this one I was kind of leaning towards. I'm going, well, they're digital assets. Maybe this can be a little more, not pragmatic, but the aesthetic could be more digitally driven, not so elegant, I guess, And so I'll show you something in just a second. We'll come back to that. Here's another one, and I like this one just because it's a little different. It almost had almost like a fruit, like Q fruit or whatever. I don't know if that makes any sense. I wasn't sure about this, but I liked it nonetheless. But ultimately, I didn't decide to go in that direction. And the one I probably liked the most was this one. I even pre-dropped some circles on there because I planned on drawing this again and getting a little more precise, but then gave up on that and decided just to build it off of this. Now, before we jump into that, I want to go back to this one because this was the one that before I put any of my content together for People Love and turn it into a video that you can watch like you're doing now, I work on the project like I work on a normal project, and I carry it all the way through, and then I deconstruct it for my movies because that way I can focus on the best teachable moments, not every single absolute iterative step of the creative process. That'd just be way too long. I don't even do that in my full blowing LinkedIn courses. So it's kind of balancing what's the best communication devices and teachable moments within the given creative project as a whole. And so this one is what I started building out. But then I abandoned it. And I'll show you that. And that's why I left the X file in here, because I'm going to give a little bit of my secret sauce away for what's in this content. But this design here, I'll just copy it. And I'll come back here. We'll just slide this to the right and I'll paste it. Oops, make sure we're on the right layer. Go back down here and paste it. This is what I originally created and worked out. And the more I looked at it, I just go, well, I like my sketch, but, in my sketch, I had Oasis was the outer thing. I thought that was wrong, kind of didn't work too well, and then I changed it. And by the time I got to this, I'm going, you know what? I don't like this idea, and I just kind of gave up on it. So didn't use that one, focused on this one, and this one we're going to build. So I'm going to select this, go to transparency, set this for like 15%, lock the layer. And if you think in shapes, what's the one shape I'm always telling it, no matter if we're doing a logo or other type of design or illustrative graphic, I'm always telling you it's elliptical shape. So if you keep your shape tools always available, that's why I have them pulled out up here. We're going to use the elliptical tool. I just want to pick a graphic style because I like working in outline first. Make sure we're on the layer that we need to be. I always, knowing that all of these letters are going to interact with one another, I have to establish a system to register it. That's why I drop these guides in. Then I can start building my shapes. Now with the elliptical shape, if you hold Option down, it'll do it from the center out. And if you hold Shift down, it'll lock into the perfect one. You don't need Shift. We just need Option here. And I'll just rough it out really quick. So like that. Once we have one done, we don't have to go back to the same tool. We can just copy this, Command-C, Command-F. If you have your contextual menu bar open, you can click the duplicate button with this selected. It'll do the same thing. I'm just going to use my keyboard shortcut where I just hit F3, and then holding Option down, I can go ahead and create the element there like that. I can continue using this same shape. I'll clone it again. We'll bring it down to here, and this is where I can build out the shape that's going to end up being the O, like that. Again, we'll clone it again. I'll hold Option down, and this is where we'll build the inner O. So it's not hard. It actually goes fast when you start thinking about everything that's going to be a circle. And obviously, we'd have a circle down to here is what I want to put down, something like that. So that's how I go about doing this. Now, I like paying attention to my tolerances. So the easiest shapes are the first things I build, and those are these elliptical shapes for the O, for the Q. We haven't worked on I believe they call this a swash at the bottom of the Q. I had to look that up. I couldn't remember, and sure enough, it's like a swash. I almost wanted to call it a mustache. I always think of this as a face, and this is like some like smirky kind of mustache type thing. If you think of the Pringles logo, or the character that is, he kind of has a cookie duster mustache. So this is where we need to work on the Q. Is an easy one. It's basically just an O with a little swash on it, and the O is just literally circles. So those are easy shapes to build. One of the hard ones is going to be the S. So let's go ahead and zoom in. And the thing I noticed on my sketch is that I need to establish the angle, but then I notice on my sketch that this area here is less than this area down here. And I didn't notice that really until I started building this shape, and I got it to this point and I was really liking it. And then when I went to bring it down here, this tip, if I go ahead and just copy this shape, we'll copy it. I'll copy the S shape we have here, select both, and I'm going to rotate it because it should align. Well, it did. This doesn't get in the way down here, but now it doesn't match that. And that's when I realized, I was paying too much attention to my sketch and not to the actual vector art. And I've done that at times. So if you move this up, notice it's going to fuse there, and that's not going to work. So that wasn't going to work good. So what I realized is I like this angle. So I use this angle that I established here based off of my sketch. But this area here of the letter form S is a spine, or referred to as a backbone. It's both terms are used within typography, but I need to adjust it. So I just created lines and figured out where that center would be using this angle and the two lines to establish the backbone of the letter S. And now this section of the negative space between the Q and the S will be even with the bottom one. And that's where I probably would have resolved that if I would have redrawn my sketch. And that's, I think, what hung me up as I was using my rough sketch. So I'm so used to just figuring everything out in the drawn form that at times like this, where I decide, this is good enough, I'll just go from this, that I revert to following pretty much exactly what I've drawn. And then in this case, I'm like, oops, that's not going to work. So the way I resolved it, it's not super hard, is I just select these, and I'm going to select this, and we're just going to slide it down. I'm holding the shift key so it snaps there. So this angle's fine. This is looking a little wonky now. So I think we need to move this up kind of like that. Maybe we pull this one down, and I just finesse these curves to work this out like that. So that's how I resolved it. But I really scrutinize this a lot. So I'm not going to trust this. I'm going to turn on the one that I really finessed. And, well, it's pretty close, but I spend a lot of time paying attention to those details. So this is what I got. So you only have to build half the S, because on this, it'll just be a replication of whatever you established at the top. Maybe you start at the bottom. Whatever you establish at the bottom, you could reflect it up at the top. These will ultimately be closed shapes. So what I'll do is close this shape here. So I'll just close it like that. Now that we have that spine angle established, we can turn off the blue lines here. And I'll take this, I'm going to clone it, Command-C, Command-F. I just hit the F3 key again. I'm going to select this and make another clone of this shape. By the way, for those new to this channel, there is no clone command. I've set up a keyboard shortcut where I can select this, and I just cloned it. I can select it, I hit F3, and now there's a clone of that shape in its place. It's a keyboard shortcut I've been using, 21 years now. So it's like you can create your own commands in Illustrator. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to take that, take the copy of the S shape, and now because these are all centric to one another in the design, we're going to just rotate this down into place. That looks good. Deselect the bottom of this, delete that shape. We don't need it. Then I can take these two shapes here, and ultimately I'm going to fuse them. Now, before I fuse them, I'll go ahead and do one thing here. Is on the Q, we're missing this stash, the swash, that is. I keep thinking mustache with the Q. So the nicknames that this is given within typography is, I've heard swash, but I don't think I've ever heard tail. Tail does seem like that would be maybe a better name for it, but both those terms are used in that context. And so I established this. Now, one thing I need to point out is I'm paying attention to tolerances. I want to retain continuity between these shapes. So at the top here, the thickness here matches the thickness on the S and the thickness on the O and the thickness on the swash or tail, whatever you want to call it, etc. And I establish what that thickness is after I get one letter form, and then I follow it for the other letter form. So if I turn these on, you can see this height is approximately 9.6639 points. I always work in points, usually work in whole numbers, but because I'm kind of creating a video here, I keep it within a certain architecture, so it just looks better when I record the movie. But all these are the same. And I use that to set up each of the tolerances, even the negative space in between the Q and the O on the outside, all the way down to the stash. Swash. I did it. I'm going to keep doing that probably by accident. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out, but I don't want this to be this close to this. So this is where I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to go ahead and offset it. So we'll go offset. And on this one, let's see, we'll do it about 6 points. I think that would be about right. We can preview it. That looks good. So I'll click it. We'll go ahead and just color this blue so it's different than the other outlines. And actually, let's go ahead and just fill it with blue, because this is ultimately, we're going to bring it to the front. So we'll edit the swash with this. And all I'm going to do is select the swash, select this offset, and I'm going to go minus front. And then let's zoom in because I'll show you some of the detailing I'm going to do. So this now follows that curve and it puts a nice negative space around it, but it's based off of the curve at the bottom of the S. So I like that. It's a nice continuity there. But I'll select this, and this is where I don't use Illustrator's native Smart Remove Anchor Point tool. One, I don't think it's smart. I think it's, I don't even use it. So I was going to make myself try it and compare it with the Stutes method, but unfortunately, I forgot to write those instructions down. That's how often I don't use it, is because I found in certain contexts, you can smart remove this and this curve will change. It won't retain the exact geometry. And if that happens, I don't trust it. It's a digital tool. It should never happen with the Stute. I can just highlight this anchor point, go to the Path Scribe tool, which is part of Vector Scribe plugin. And they have the Smart Remove command here, and it's a button, so I can just go click, and it doesn't destroy my geometry. It just removes that. Now, why did I do that? Well, let's undo, because I don't want this coming to a point down here. I want this to be a nice round, goes right up to the point up here. But because we have this, it would stop the round right there. So if you use the corner widget, it's going to run into this anchor point. Actually, it even stops before that just because of the curve there. So you can avoid all of that. Let's just undo that by smart removing this anchor point that's causing the obstruction. We'll smart remove it. Now I'll go ahead and select this and I'll move it all the way up, and that way it makes a nice elegant curve right up into the the corner of the top right. I almost said stash, but I'm going to say it right now, swash on the cue. So those are the little detail things I do as I'm working out a design, as I'm creating it. And on this one, we're going to go ahead and take this and take this shape, and we'll go unite. Notice I get these anchor points here, so let's undo that. We're going to go into our settings in Pathfinder here and go to Pathfinder options. Notice I have remove redundant points on. This is what I want to show you. Even though this is in Illustrator and we have it, yes, remove redundant anchor points. Illustrator will still create redundant anchor points. With these two S shapes, the top and the bottom like that, you're going to end up with these extra anchors here. And it's on these anchors right here that I just select these, and I go up here and just go minus, because this is pretty much straight here. So it's not going to ruin your artwork doing that. But that's how I clean it up as I go along. Now, I want this O to actually read like it's going over the top of the S, and then when it gets down here, like it's going under the S, to get that nice dimensionality aspect going. So we're going to select the O here, and we're going to offset this. So we'll go path, we'll go offset, and this we did about 6 points here. So that's what it's defaulting to, but I don't want it that much. I want it about 4. Like that. We can preview it. That looks fine. So I'll go like that. I'm just going to color this blue so it's a different color. This we only want to cut out on the top part of the S. So I'll create a shape like this, select that offset, and we'll go intersect. So that creates the shape we'll use to edit the S there. And now on the S, we'll go ahead and offset this. That same amount, 4 points. Again, we'll color it blue. And I'll create another shape, and it's just to get the element that's going to go over the top of the letter Q. And we'll select both of these now, and we'll go intersect like that. So now, if we want to edit the Q shapes, I'll select this, I'll select the Q, I'll go minus front. Now we got that nice gap going here, so it makes the S look like it's coming over the top. Then I'll take this shape with the S shape, and we'll minus front on that. And oops. Let's go ahead. Are we on the right layer? Oh, it would help if we're on the right layer, right? There we go. Bring it to the right layer, select the letter S, and go minus front. So now it cuts out like that. And as soon as you do a command like this, a Boolean method, is which all the methods in the Pathfinder are Boolean, this is going to revert back to a group nature. So if you want that a compound, you have to turn it back into a compound. And I have that's another F key shortcut I have, F7 to do that. If you don't, just go to Object, Compound, and you'll go Make. Notice I'm using F7. Keyboard shortcuts just make things go a lot faster. Then I'll take the swash, not the stash, the swash with the Q, and I'll unite those together to form the final letter mark like that. So I just wanted to walk you through those details, because that's how I build a design like this, and I get those interactive aspects to it going. I'm going to come back and round some of this so not everything has a sharp point like on the S and stuff. I'll point that out once we get to, I'll point that out, pun, once we get to that point. Let's move to the next part. The next part is I want to create that Laurel. And when I'm creating leaves like this, you know, some people might think, well, instead of using circles, why don't you just, you know, go like this and grab the anchor point tool, or the anchor point tool, and then you can just bend these out. Well, you could do it that way if you wanted to. I wanted it a little more precise than that, so I don't do it that way. I just take, let's go ahead and zoom in on this. We're pretty far out. So I just take two elliptical shapes, overlap them, thinking the middle where they overlap is going to be the leaf. But notice the anchor point is here, because when you create using an elliptical shape like this tool, it's going to put the anchor points at 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. So what I usually do, just to make it cleaner, is I'll rotate those anchors so they're not going to be in the final artwork. Or on this one, I'll rotate these that way. That way, the shape created will just be two anchors, here and here. Once I add that, I can go intersect, and now I have a nice, clean, elegant shape. It's even on both sides. You don't have to mess with the Bezier curves. And again, I'm all for precision and making the process go a lot faster. And so that's why I think in shapes. That's why I build in shapes. It just makes everything go a lot faster and a lot easier. Now, one thing you'll notice is I have it a little thicker here, and it's kind of tapering as it gets up here. So this circle on the outside, which is where I'm using, that I'm going to use to wrap my brush around it to get that curve in the Laurel graphic, it has to be a little wider here, and it goes to a more tapered offset from up here. Not a lot, but it's just paying attention to those details. It won't be exact circle. Otherwise, it would be further away at the top than at the bottom, because on our artwork, you can see we have this size up here, and you can see the bounding box is right on the edge. And if you go here, the bounding box is a little ways from the edge on the top and bottom, so it's tapering it. But this is super easy. When you're creating a brush like I'm going to show you, all vector brushes run left to right or right to left. And if you're creating something that you want this, let's say when you use it in a design to be this way, that's fine, but you have to build your brush this way. That's just the way the brush technology works in Illustrator. So let me show you how that works. Let's go ahead and select this, and we're going to go to, do I even have my brushes palette open? I don't think I do. Go up here. Nope, here it is. We'll open up brushes. We want to create a new brush, so with our artwork selected, I'm just going to click plus, and you might think, well, you'll create an art brush. We're not going to create an art brush. We're going to do something a little unintuitive, because I find sometimes it's better to create a pattern brush. So we're going to click pattern brush, click OK. This is the part I wish you could have a preference to turn off, to never do, never try to create art for me. I can handle it myself, Illustrator. Illustrator will try to create a corner for you. Do we even need a corner in this case? No. So I'm going to click that off. I don't want it to do that. And you can see it's just making the straight part the artwork. And the pattern means it's going to repeat that pattern after the distance of it being placed on a path. And you can see how it's showing how it would replicate it going in, a clockwise motion. You could change this if you plan on changing the color of the path you apply it to. In this case, I don't think we need to do that. So I'm just going to go Laurel brush like that, and we'll click OK. So you can see our Laurel brush right here. So I can select the path that we've decided to map it to and click the brush, and it will go from the end that's thicker here. We'll start at the bottom, and it'll wrap it up, and it'll get right to the top. So that works out great. Now, sometimes, depending, a lot of people don't know this, but vector paths in Illustrator always have a direction to them, the path direction. And sometimes you might create this, and it might put it it might do it opposite. Let's go ahead and undo this. So with this path, if I go up to Object here, and I go to Path, and you can see it says reverse path direction. Sometimes when you build, you might have a path and it looks the way you want it to, but when you apply a brush, it'll flip it the wrong way, like that. So if you ever run into this, you're going, what? Why is it doing that? Why isn't the fat part down here? Just go up to object, go to path, and go to reverse path direction, and it'll resolve it. So a lot of people don't know that. And that's how you deal with this. Now on this one, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put one more piece in here. We're going to select this down until it hits right there, like that. So we're just working out. And then the stem is just another path I put on top of it. But I don't want this 1 point. I think the stem should be probably like 4 points. Like that. And that looks pretty good. So that's how I created the stem. Pattern brushes, in my opinion, this is only showing this length is close enough to the length of the path I wrapped it to that it only shows one iteration of that pattern. But it looks a lot better than the art brush would look. And I've tried the art brush and it works for certain things, but in this context, a pattern brush is the way you want to go. Now, when all of these elements, and by the way, I'm not going to leave it in a pattern mode. This is where I would select this pattern brush here, and I'd have to go to expand appearance, like that. And notice you're going to get all of these anchor points. And this is the unfortunate part of Illustrator, is that they've fixed this in other ways, like with the pencil tool. It doesn't put an insane amount of anchor points in here, but they don't upgrade that kind of functionality with all the different features in Illustrator. So you'll end up with this. Why would this have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 anchors on one side? This only has 1. It didn't even need 1. But why does this have 8? Well, that's something you just have to ask the Illustrator team. It makes no sense. So this is one reason why I use plugins. And you're not going to be able to do this natively in Illustrator. You could try to use Smart Remove, but guess how long that's going to take to clean this up? It's going to take you probably about 20 minutes, so it's a waste of time. If they just fixed this and coded it well, you wouldn't have to do any of that. But let's go ahead and go to a feature in VectorScribe called Smart Remove Brush Tool. And all I have to do is run over the top of these and it'll remove all the anchors that aren't needed. It does the math to figure out, do you need any of those anchors? Now, sometimes it might be a curve where you do need to retain the anchor in order to retain the geometry. In this case, this shows none of these are needed. So if a plugin, so here's one, nope, it took that one out too. So here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Plugin developers, smart, they figure out the code. Adobe Illustrator engineers, they're kind of sloppy. And I think it's because they don't actually use the software. So if they were creating this, they wouldn't like on this one. This is nuts. This has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 anchor points just to create this subtle curve. And the fact that a plugin can remove it and do it tells me the code could be improved. So you've heard me say that before, but it's that type of stuff that I've wanted to help their team get past a lot of that crap over the years, and they're not really interested in it. So anyway, that's the nitty gritty of craftsmanship. I kind of hyper focus on when it's all said and done. We can turn off our sketch layer down here. This is the final black and white artwork. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I've covered this in other movies, so I'm not going to do it now. If I zoom in on these, notice I've gone in and I've had these subtle curves like to the S. Instead of coming to a dagger sharp point, I've rounded that off just to make it look elegant. I've even gone in on the Laurel and rounded off the tips of these just to make it look better, and put a little subtle curves where the one element's going over the other element. just because all of that adds up and looks really, really nice to button up a design. Now, it's at this point I have the Monogram brand mark essentially done, and I want to create or figure out and pair typography with it. Now, my approach to pairing typography, there's nothing complicated to it. The type, what is the type manager I use? I don't have it on this machine. On my workstation, it's, if you're interested in knowing that, just email me or post a comment on this video and I'll reply to it and tell you what it is. I can't remember. I remember what their logo looks like, and I think it starts with an A, but but I can't remember the name. So anyway, these are the typefaces I was looking at, and I'm working on a design right now for a medical clinic that's oriented for females and female health. And the typeface I'm using for that is Optima. So I thought, you know what? I might try that again. And so I have that one up here. This one I always thought was kind of nice. Impressium CG Bold Italic. But this one, I always go in and I edit it to get, like with the S, how it swings up at the end. I don't like that. So that's where I'll go in and I'll just trim this off so it just comes down to a point down here. And so I have to do a lot of customization. And the fact that I know I'm going to want to create a badge and other brand elements means that would be a really hard thing to do if I have other type in a design. This one, I originally wasn't even going to consider this one. And then as soon as I typed out Q, I'm going, oh, I love that Q. That's nice. That's cool. And I'm also thinking of maybe locking up the brand mark with an acronym type version of the logo, SQO. Here's a good example of the Q looking like almost looks like a mustache or a pipe, like he's an old English gentleman smoking a pipe. And then you have this Sinhala MN regular. I didn't like the Q on this one. Like, it's just like, looks like, oh, the Q's horny. It's like, so this one, as soon as I saw, I liked all the other letter forms. As soon as I saw the Q, I'm going, okay, I'm not going to use that one. Montserrat Medium. Montserrat's always one that I kind of like the simplicity of it. It's actually what we used on the titling here for all the names. That's Montserrat, like regular, I think. It's a nice typeface. By the way, there is this is getting way off subject, but I used to play Medal of Honor, something like that, back in the day. And there's a great map, and it was the Battle of Montserrat, so World War II kind of battle. It was like an old, I want to say it was either a, what do you call it, where the monks all live? Rectory or something like that. Maybe it's just a church, but it is like church ruins and you're fighting all around, and it's kind of a cool map. Neither here nor there for the creative process, just something that popped in my head. I even considered Rotulo Variable, which is the typeface I use on the bag of crabs that I posted. But I decided I'm not going to do that again. Archivo, I always like this one. I even like the Q. I like how simplified it is, but wasn't sure. So this is what I look at, and I try all of these with the logo font. And the one I landed on is this ITC Avant-Garde Gothic Pro. I really like the Q. I think it contrasts well with the logo. The logo has a styling that almost looks like Optima in terms of not quite a serif font, but almost subtle serifs. And so I thought this contrasted well with it. So I always do type customization. So here's the typeface that I typed out, and this was a open typeface ligature that fuses the F and the T together. But this is where I start out with. So this is group. So what I usually do is I usually go to graphic styles, and let's see. We're going to go ahead and put it in outline mode. There's just something about working in outlines that I really like doing it. And so this is where I'll go in and I'll zoom in on something like this. Let's go ahead and just fill it with this color like that. And I first take a look at the spacing and I just adjust it. Now, if you're a typophile, you might be watching me do this going, no, don't do that. I don't care about those rules. I just care about what looks best. This one, I didn't like how tight it was with the T, the F, that is. So I'm going to use the same space as the type itself. Move that over like that. I'm going to select this, and we're going to go minus front to improve that spacing there. I'm going to go all the way over to the right now. We'll move these over, and I'm holding shift down so I keep it aligned with the established baseline like that. Might zoom out a little bit. I'll group that. I think that looks fine. I'll go into here. So this is all I do, is I'm always, especially on a logo type like this, I don't use it canned, meaning the way the font designer did all the spacing. I don't just go with what it is with the font directly. I always customize it where I think it needs to be customized. Like on this one, I thought the spacing between the N, the Queen and Oasis was too much, so I'm going to bring this over like that. So this is kind of how, in this case, I'm not really customizing it. I'm just adjusting all those tolerances to make it, you know, work the way I think it is going to look great. And so we'll go ahead and color this black like that. And here's actually what the final came out like. So you can see I'm still pretty close to what I had. I might have gotten a little off over here, but it's pretty close. So those are the details. So this is the way I finally designed it, not too far off from here. And this compares just the converted text out of the gate with the final. And so you can see how it adjusted and hopefully improved on it. So when it locks up with the Monogram LogoType, I think it has a nice kind of contrast with this. This is elegant, but I think this is nice and simplistic, and it just contrasts well. I think if it all had this kind of typography, there's good contrast and there's bad contrast. This is a good contrast, I think. And this is at the point where I start doing color exploration. Now, a lot of people, when I show color exploration, yeah, but how did you come up with those colors? Well, I just experiment. I just open up the color palette and I start mixing colors. I'm thinking maybe it could be a pink color, you know, so I'll go to here and I'll start moving the sliders around to establish a pink, or in this case, a kind of turquoise color or a dark blue. So that's all I'm doing here. And then I figured out on my design that I want the letter S and the letter O and the crown and the dot, all of these things. I'll use the direct selection tool to select one of these. All of these things are just simply going to be this aqua color. These are all going to be the pink color. The type itself is going to be the only part that has the dark color. And once I figured out how to group those colors together, then it was just trying different iterations of color on each of them. But without exception, all of these from the type, that would be the darkest blue here. And then the crown and everything, that would be this kind of pale blue. This would be kind of the muted mint green of sorts. On this one, we'd take the typography, would be a very dark gray. It probably looks black on screen. And then the S and everything is going to be purple, and we'll do a nice kind of dusty gold there like this. And this is how I like to do color exploration. Here's all the other colors that I did down here. And now some of you go, well, why don't you use color artwork and stuff? So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go here. And there's reasons why I never use this. I don't find it super helpful. And they even doubled down on, I don't know, the stupid aspect of it, in my opinion. Let's go down. We'll go down to, let's say, this one. Because this one, we have a dark purple, we have this kind of dusty magenta, and then we have a faded kind of aqua color. I think those look good as is, but let's say you decided, well, I'm not sure about that. So I'm going to click on the one thing about this color artwork feature is I don't like the fact you can't decide to just have this window stay open. And it only activates if you have something selected. But as soon as I unselect something, it disappears. That part, just, that's asinine, because every time I go back and I have to open it up, it always pops up in the most inopportune location. And so, yes, you can have this. You can go down here and you can start experimenting like this, and you can see the color changing. Some of this is okay. I think it definitely works better when it's an isolated graphic and you mess with the colors like this. If you're doing it all of these selected and trying to do it, it's a hot mess, in my opinion. So in this respect, it's okay. And I think it's even okay if you go to the color library. Maybe you want stuff more earth tones or nature. We'll try earth tones and just click it and see what it does. That's not bad for earth tones. And then again, you can explore over here if you want to try different values like this. So it just depends on what you're going for. That's actually not that bad. So in terms of doing one-offs, it's fine. But then they added generative color. So here, maybe you decide, well, I'm not going to do, let's go ahead and reset the art so it gives it the same opportunity the other setting for regular recolor did. And we'll go feminine, I don't know, feminine colors that are, pastel. Pastel hues, like that. And we'll see what generative, oh yeah, thanks, whatever. You can tell I never use it because it gives me the warning right away. And the other thing is I'm going, well, it's kind of hard to see, but this looks like, I don't know, this reminds me of 1980s SoFlo colors. This too monochromatic. We'll try this one. Yeah, that doesn't look that great. So I don't find these features that helpful. I don't even find the generative recolor, I think, is kind of a joke. Let's reset it and let's go back color, go back generative color. Where did their, wait. Oh, sample prompts. Okay, let's try a sample prompt. We'll try summer. Summer by the sea? I don't know. It's cutting it off. I don't know. So let's just, oh, summer by the sea. Okay, yeah. So that must be, that is the prompt. Okay. So we get some different ones here. I think these colors are way off, but we'll click it. Okay, it's not that bad, but would you ever spec an orange that was this close to the dark orange? I mean, it's almost like not even worth having another color. Maybe this should be just the same orange. So I don't really find these features on recolor, especially generative recolor. I think I don't know. I don't know how smart their AI is because, well, frankly, here, I'll show you how smart their AI is. Let's say you have no idea whatsoever for color, other than the fact you've established the black and white. Okay, well, let's select this. We'll go here, reposition this again, click on generative color, and we'll go trippy disco, and we'll go general. Okay, show us something really cool in trippy disco, and it just shows you more black and whites. That's how smart their AI is. It's not going, well, this is a Laurel, so let's apply a green to it. There is no intelligence going on here. This is just an algorithm. So I don't buy that it's true AI. I just don't. Or we could try something else like color with pastel vibrant hues and go generate. And it doesn't show you anything. So bottom line, you have to put human intelligence into it. And that's why I like doing it natively. Natively meaning I use my own brain to figure out the colors. And I took these colors as shown here and actually emailed an image to Sala, and I said, which of these do you like better? Whatever you choose is what I'll end up using. She liked this one in the middle, and so that's the one I ended up using. Now at this point, none of these colors are dialed in to final brand colors. These are all raw colors. So I look at this on screen, because this is on screen, and I take my Pantone books, and under a true white light condition, I start speccing colors from my Pantone books, and I figure out the universal colors. So if I turn this on and turn it off, you can see how things are subtly changing. It's because the screen color is going to look different when you spec with universal colors. But all of these were picked from the Pantone Color Bridge books. And this shows you that on the side here. So now on all of these, I have all my process colors picked. And so the darkest one here, that's the typography, is warm blush is what I'm calling it. And it's this Pantone color, then this color, which is just the blush color shown in the Laurels and in the Q, is this. And then we have the pink and the other elements in the brand motif. These are all process colors. These are all spot equivalent colors. You can distinguish one from the other because process is CP, spot is C. And then in the same books with the spot, they also list the RGB values to be representative of these aligned colors and the hexadecimal values so you can use it on your website. So this is one of the best resources. Now, I don't even pay for Pantone. I refuse to pay my subscription. I have the books that I bought years ago. They still work great. And I manually load all my colors into Illustrator. And if you'd like to do that too and save money and not get a subscription to Pantone, go to eBay and you can find people selling their Pantone books and buy old books. They might, I haven't checked lately, but they might have these Color Bridge books. And then once you buy those, you can Google and find these files to plug into Illustrator all over the internet. You just have to have a book to match it from because you trust the book, not what you see on screen. So that's the key there. So the Pantone books come in both coded and uncoded, so you can use them on whatever type of print project you have. So all the primary brand assets, that is, for Sala's new venture. This is the vertical lockup with the type and brand mark, the horizontal lockup. Think website. This would be a good one on a website. Here's an alternate horizontal with stack type. I really like that. I ultimately gave up on doing the acronym because when I started pairing them with an acronym, the brand mark, it's kind of redundant, because the Monogram is essentially an acronym of sorts. So I created a badge design, used the slogan that she had provided me, Embrace Your Gentle Rain. And now I want to create a brand pattern to go with this. Brand patterns are something that I always do now. They're just so much fun. And all patterns in Illustrator work off of a bounding box method. And I'll show you a little bit about that in just a second. So if you think of a bounding box, just create a rectangular square. And wherever it goes off on the top or on the right or on the bottom, it's going to come in on the bottom. This is going to come in on the right. This is going to come in here, and this is going to come in the bottom left as well. This is easier shown than explained, so let's just select all of this. We'll drag and drop it into our swatches palette, deselect, otherwise it will fill all your elements with the pattern. I've done that before. And we'll double click into the pattern swatch. That'll bring us into the pattern mode. We're going to click on this box, which is the pattern tile tool. It gives you control to pull your elements or the wrapping of your elements, the repeat, away. And now we're going to just move this back up, snap to our bounding box on the bottom, snap to our bounding box on the right, snap to the bounding box on the top, and we'll snap to the bounding box on the left. And that's going to put everything in register. So that's all I'm using the bounding box for, is to register our design. Notice it's showing up in our repeat. We don't want that, so let's just delete the bounding box. And now it's showing the repeat. Now I have this set for a 25% dim. If you preferred having it a little brighter, you could go to like 40, or you wanted to see more of the pattern to get an idea of what it's going to look like, you can go to 9 and it would repeat that out. Now it's at this point, I'm just going to save this. So I'm going to go SQO pattern 1 like that. Once you've done that, you can either exit by double clicking on the background or hitting the escape key to get back to your artboard. Now that we've done that, I can select this shape and I'll go up here and I'll fill it with the pattern like that. Once you have an object filled with a pattern, this brand pattern, we can go over to rotate and we can double click on it. Make sure to turn off transform objects, otherwise the shape that you're filling the pattern with will rotate. We just want to rotate the pattern. So this will just show you how it will just move that pattern and orient it. So you can put that at any angle you want like that. That's how I would create a pattern, brand pattern for a project like this. Now, if you wanted to take this same pattern and you wanted to do a similar pattern to it, you could take this and maybe you make it so it works on a colored background and it's all white like that. So there's a lot of different things you can do here. Now, one thing I want to show you is that a pattern just takes elements and arranges them using the bounding box. Ultimately, you would have to expand this effect that Illustrator uses to display a pattern. So if we go to expand appearance and we click here like that, go back, we go expand, click. Now all of these, if I go to keyline view, notice you're going to see all of these bounding boxes in here. All of these no fill, no stroke bounding boxes. So let's get out of keyline view and I'll go in here. So here's one example of the bounding box. All of these are throughout this design. Now, unfortunately, they could have this once it's expanded. It could be set up so it just removes all these for you. But if you want to expand it so you can use it in Photoshop, otherwise it'll create seams where the pattern repeats, select one and go, we'll go select same stroke color. Now it's going to select everything, and if I just hit delete, it's going to delete everything. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that, because if you want to use it in a print context and avoid getting the lines everywhere where these this pattern repeats, you're going to have to remove all of these no stroke, no fill bounding boxes. It's kind of a pain. It's one of those little things you have to pay attention to. So I just wanted to show you that because ultimately, if you're setting up a print project file and you want that pattern to print well, you have to expand it. You can't leave it in that pattern mode that Illustrator uses to create it. So all the assets are shown here, and these include all the primary. We have the vertical, the horizontal, the stacked, the badge, and just the logo mark itself. These are all the CMYK process. These are all the spot. These are all the black and white. And on the black and white, just because it's a one color black and white, that's fine if you need black and white. But this also works if you wanted to take one of your branded colors. Let's say you're doing a t-shirt and it's on a white shirt and you want to print one color. You could take one of your brand colors, use the spot colors, and you have a really nice design. So that's the one I would use for doing that. So I just wanted to point that out. And of course, reverse versions that work on a dark colored or photographic background. Here's an example of the badge in that context. And because Sala is creating digital templates, so this might be some way she can promote a new one she came up with. Let's say it's a recipe planner. People can download, and it's an interactive PDF, etc. These are the type of things she's going to be doing. Here's another one where she's creating more interactive forms, and maybe she's promoting it, and she could use the horizontal one in that context. Overall, I really like how this project came out. I think it's a beautiful mark for a great idea for a product and brand. And Sala, thank you for the idea for this content. And as my way to thank you and to help you with your new creative venture, I'm donating this brand identity to you. So I'll wrap everything up and get those over to you as soon as I can. Monograms are tricky designs to solve, but nevertheless, they're really fun. And that challenge is kind of a fun one to work out. So give it a try. You might have a logo project coming up, and a monogram might be either a good way to solve it in specifically, or maybe it becomes a secondary brand asset within the overall brand identity project you're working on. It could be handled that way as well. So thank you to those who have become members of this channel and those who give my movies just a simple like. It all helps to grow it and reach out to new people, and I appreciate it a lot. I try my best to create content that can help anyone improve their skills without hiding it behind a paywall. I have a lot of courses for LinkedIn, and I make money off of them, and that helps me support my family. But I like to give back to the industry, and this is my way of doing it. So until next time, thank you for watching People Love Process. And as always, I hope this content helps you improve your own creative process.